going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 31 of the Building the Village podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Brandon W. Jones, your Chief Village Building Strategist, and I'm excited to have you all here today. Listen, before we dive into our content today, I want to say thank you all so much for the overwhelming amount of love and support, the liking, the comments, the subscribing that you all have done since the relaunch on episode 30, especially with us coming to YouTube. I'm super excited. Thank you all for the love. Thank you for the appreciation. I'm excited. I do this because I love it. I do this because I really do enjoy having this conversation. This is something that's near and dear to my heart. And so I just really appreciate it when people share that love back. I don't live for it because, as the great philosopher T.I. says, if you live for the cheers, you'll die by the booze. At the same time, whenever I do get that appreciation and recognition from family, friends, and folks who tune in, it is always welcome and appreciated. So thank you for that. If you're new, welcome. This is a show. This is a podcast that is all about building the village. This is about building a better village, one villager at a time. If it takes a village to raise a child, it's going to take that same village or an even bigger and stronger village to nurture happy, whole, and healthy and mature adults. And so that's what we live by here in the village. That's what I live by. And I hope that you'll join us on that journey to becoming a better villager. If you haven't already done so, please make sure that wherever you're listening or viewing this podcast from, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, because that's how the word gets out about the podcast. If this is something that at the end of this episode or other episodes that you find helpful and valuable, please go ahead and share that content out. So whether you're washing dishes, listening to this, or commuting to work, or sitting on your lunch break or at your desk, thank you. And also, if you get something from it, definitely share it and share your comments as well on YouTube. Go ahead and share your comments. If you're not already following us on social media, please follow me at bjonesspeaks, just like it says on my hoodie. bjonesspeaks at bjonesspeaks on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as on YouTube. I am in those places, as well as on my LinkedIn account. I've got a B Jones Speaks page on LinkedIn as well, for those of you who tune in from there. So with that, I want to have a conversation about building the village. And I'm not just talking about the show, but I'm really talking about that concept of intentionally building community. You know, I've been on social media for a long time now, and I'm active every single day. You may see me posting content. You may see me liking and commenting and subscribing to other accounts. And one of the things that I have found over the last 4 to 5 years specifically is that, as I said in episode 30, I don't think people know how to build community well anymore. I think that it's a lost art. I hear it every day on the university campus, students saying, I'm trying to find my people, I'm trying to find my fit, or I'm trying to find my group. I get on social media and I also see people complaining when they move to a new city, like, oh my gosh, it's boring here. Oh my gosh, I thought it would be easier to connect here. And while that may be the case, I've come to find that when you dig deeper and have conversations with people about how they are connecting, what usually happens is that people don't have a strategy. And I know that for some of us, it's like, well, that might feel not authentic if I don't have a strategy. That might feel kind of fake if I have to have a plan for building community. Well, we have community. We have plans for everything. We've got plans for natural disasters and what to do to recover from them. We've got plans for insurance. At least I hope you do. We've got plans for coming back to work from the pandemic. Which at least I hope a lot of the organizations out there did. We've got plans for the weekend. We've got plans for brunch. We've got plans for everything else, but who we choose to surround ourselves with. And so I just want to offer three things that I think will help anybody, because this podcast is not just for people in transition. However, I do think that this content will help those of you out there who are at a new job, you've moved to a new city, you've relocated across the country and you're away from family, or you're a student athlete and you've entered the transfer portal and you're in a new location, or wherever you find yourself at this stage and at this time listening to this episode, I want to help you with building your village. And so the first thing I want to offer to folks is you've got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to get out of your comfort zone. And I know that this is going to make a lot of people upset, because some people are going to say, well, Brandon, I'm an introvert, and so I don't necessarily like peopling. And that's totally fine. I'm not asking you to not be introverted. At the same time, there's got to be somebody or a group of somebodies you want to intentionally surround yourself with. And they may or may not live in your city. So how are you going to build community there? Right? If you have relocated and you're trying to find your fit, or you're trying to find your groove, or you're trying to find your group, you're going to have to get outside of your comfort zone. If you've started a new job, or you've recently been divorced, or you are in the middle of, you just got out of a real bad breakup and you're just trying to get a better sense of self, all of those things can be helpful. All of those things can require a new perspective on what it means to build your village. But we've got to get outside of your comfort zone. One of the things that I've noticed on social media lately is that a lot of folks just want this to happen. I wore my best outfit, but nobody talked to me. I went to the event and stood in the corner and nobody came and spoke to me. Or I showed up at the party, but nobody danced. The reality is, at some point, it's not just gonna happen. It's not just going to fall in your lap. You're gonna have to do some work. You're gonna have to get your feet dirty, or your hands dirty, or get your feet wet. Whatever idiom you want to throw in there for, you're going to have to put in some sweat equity. And so what that means is that if I normally just go fade into the back, that's not a great way to meet people. That's not a great way to build connections. That's not a great way to build the village. Okay. Now, again, I'm not saying you need 1 million people around you, and I'm not saying you need to go and be the life of the party either. What I am suggesting is that you're going to have to do something outside of your normal routine. You're going to have to do something that you've never done to get results that you've never gotten. And so what that means is that you're going to have to sign up for some events. You're going to have to step outside of the norm for yourself. You may have to go out a little bit earlier in the day, or you may have to try some new things. You may have to attempt to go to some new restaurants or a new bar, or attend that social after work. But you're going to have to get outside of your comfort zone. Here's the second thing. Look for your thing. Now, that sounds super awkward and weird, right? But go with me for a second. You've got to find whatever your thing is. For me, I love comics. I love sports. I like drawing. I love graphic t-shirts. I like skating. I enjoy gaming. I play video games a lot. So I have a lot of interests. And so every time my wife and my family and I have relocated around, we've relocated several times around the country. One of the things that I try my best to do is, in every new environment, in every new setting, I start with, okay, if I can't connect with the people at work yet, let me find things in the city that I'm moving to, or the place that we're getting ready to go to, that align with the things that are my things, or those things that I'm interested in. Or if, instead of saying your thing, find your interests. Okay. Everybody has something that they're interested in. I don't care if it's basket weaving, orange juice making, pasta making from scratch, quilting, knitting, Dungeons and Dragons. Find your thing. Now, it's important to say this because I'm noticing a lot of people don't do this, but a lot of people don't get on the internet and use it. Now, here's what I mean. I know students who go to schools sight unseen. They just choose a school because they gave them a scholarship. Never visited the city. Never looked at what the weather patterns are for that place. Never looked online to see what organizations are on campus. And adults outside of the college campus and the university setting end up doing the exact same thing. Meaning you'll move to a city just because you heard it was nice there, or you visited there one time while on vacation and you thought, oh my gosh, I could totally live there. And the catch flights, not feelings group can vibe with me on this one. But just because you went on vacation to a place and you had a good time there doesn't necessarily mean you should buy a house and move there, because the vacation that you took there looks different than living there every single day. You found the things that aligned with what you wanted to accomplish during that vacation or during that catching a flight phase that you were in, right? And so as a result, we go and move to these places and we're like, man, this is not at all like what I thought. I thought it was going to be this way, or I thought it was going to be fun, and I thought I was going to make a lot of friends. But where do the Black people hang out at? Or where do the people who are interested in technology hang out at? The reality is this: you have got to find your thing first. So that means get on the internet and look for it first. Spend some time doing research on these areas, on the city, the social clubs or the social organizations, or if there's a group of people that meet. The social media is filled with groups who get together around certain interests. For me, the internet has been my friend every place we've moved to. The first thing we start with in our house, in our family, because I serve as a student pastor and I'm involved in our church, the first thing I always look up before I've ever accepted a job somewhere was what churches are available to me and my family. I have not accepted jobs. I have turned down interviews at places, and yet alone, I don't even apply at places where I don't think I can find my fit, right? And that, because that's very important to me. Outside of work, the things that I'm interested in are the things that are going to keep me busy, going to be my distraction, or the things that I get into when I'm not working. And my non-work self is important. We'll talk about that in another episode. But I look it up. I find churches first. Then I start looking for, okay, my wife and I are foodies. We pick vacations based on what we can eat when we're on vacation there. A lot of our free time is planned around what we're going to eat. The weekends are usually designed around things we want to try and eat. That's my household. Well, what I try to do is I always look these things up beforehand. I get on social media. I read reviews. I shout out to Keith Lee. I look at the Keith Lee videos too, like some of us do, right? But you've got to find your thing. And for some of us, the reason we struggle is because we don't know what our thing is. We've been on autopilot for so long, and this is no shade, and this is no critique or criticism about anybody. It's just that because we're busy with our kids and their things and their interests, right? We forget to maintain and manage our own. Again, that's a totally different episode. But when you're transitioning, when you're trying to build your village, focus on what is your thing, what is your area of interest, and then go look for the folks that are doing that. Go to the comic book store if comics are your thing. Go to the conventions. If there's a convention in your city, go attend one. Go attend the meetups. There's so many pop-ups. I mean, there's pop-ups for food. There's shock drops for when shoes get released. There's a pop-up and a meetup for literally everything that happens during a 7-day time span. There's brunch meetups and pop-ups around everything from tech to religion to other forms of spirituality. Whatever the case may be for you, you've got to know your thing and you've got to find your thing. Here's the last thing I'll say. You've got to be patient. You can't be mad if you move to a city on Friday and by next Thursday, you're not the life of the party. That's unfair to you, and that's unfair to your new location. These things take time. It's called building the village, not the village. It's not called printing the village, because after you push print, it's done, right? No, you have to build this. And how do we build things? We build it brick by brick. We take it step by step. We take it 1 minute after the other. Some of us try to cross bridges that we haven't even reached yet. And that's not physically or geographically possible, right? When building the village, you are going to have to take your time because relationships take time to build. Here's another one about relationships. As Pastor Clark gives us this quote from Gary Smalley. Shout out to Galen Clark here at Greater Mount Zion in Austin, Texas. He says this all the time, and it's a quote from Gary Smalley. It says this: life is relationships. The rest is just details. I think a lot of us get caught in the details a lot. We get caught in the who all gonna be there, which is important, right? We get caught in the I'm an introvert, so I don't know about all of that. Or, somebody gonna have to come to me. I want to be chosen. I want to be found. And all of that has its time and place. However, you got to be patient. You got to give people a chance to get to know you. And more importantly, you got to give people a chance to get to know the real you. Again, a whole nother episode. But you got to be patient when you're building the village. This is not an overnight thing. This is not an overnight success story. You're not going to transition to the organization and suddenly be everybody's best friend by Monday. You're not going to enter into a new working relationship with a company and then suddenly rise to the top of the organization overnight. You got to be patient. Building the village takes time. And that's why my tagline for this show is been, at least since I've done my relaunch, is we're building better villages one villager at a time. And the same thing happens within our respective villages. We didn't just go cast a net and then bring everybody in all at once. That's not how that worked. What it was, somebody saw you wearing a bjonesspeaks hoodie, and these will be available soon, by the way, as will the Building the Village ones. But somebody saw you wearing a Nike shirt, or somebody saw you wearing a certain pair of Jordans. And then suddenly they were like, hey, I wear Jordans too. What's your favorite ones? And next thing you know, you got a connection over shoes. And then the next thing you know, you get introduced to a shoe club, right? There's a sneaker collab group, or if you're a college student and you're listening to this and you're out there and you're trying to figure out, man, I don't really know who my group is. But the beautiful part is that being in college, the website tells you who your group could be. And another thing is, if you don't see your group, if you don't know where your people are, you can always start one. But Google can be your friend. Social media can be your friend. And if you discover that your thing isn't out there, or the group that you're interested in doesn't exist, it's okay to start one. It is quite all right to do that, because you now know what it's like to not have that connection, and you may not want that experience for somebody else. Maybe it's meant for you to be, maybe your purpose is to be that groundbreaker or that pioneer to create that space for folks around whatever your interest or your thing is. But that's how we get started with building the village. That's how we get started with, whenever we're making these transitions, we make these connections with ourselves first, and then with others. But we got to get outside of our comfort zones. That means I may have to go and try some new things. I may have to try a new coffee shop besides Starbucks. I may have to try a different restaurant other than the one that I always frequent, right? I may have to attend a different worship service. I may need to go to a different church. But before we pack up and leave and move all of that, look for your thing in your group or your interest. And then lastly, be patient. Be patient. And so this is the beginning. This is just the beginning of a village building conversation. In the future episodes, we're going to continue having this conversation, and we'll have guests, of course, and we'll have conversations with our guests about what it looks like to build the village and what it means to be a villager in their respective village or in your respective village. And so I want to hear from you too. If you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, like and comment. Let me know what you thought about the episode. What's it like? What's it been like like building the village for you where you are? Has it been easy? Has it been difficult? What have you found to be successful? And again, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at bjonesspeaks. There's 2 S's. Don't forget that. B Jones and then speaks right after that, right? Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, and keep up with what we got going on. But until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Peace. God bless.